Fine music. Joining us now, Richard Cross, the host of Sports Talk Mississippi. What are you on the first tee? You're outside, but you're in like a rocking chair or something. What's going on?
Yeah. No first tee this morning. Just it's a beautiful day in North Mississippi, so might as well be outside for a little while today.
I hear you. Yes, the weather is delightful to say the least, and the weather for the game up there in Oxford was pretty good. I caught some of the broadcast. You guys, of course, always deliver a fantastic product in that arena, but was especially intrigued, Richard, by your post-game show. I like to listen to it regularly and caught it this time. The players, I thought, did great in your post-game interviews. Well, they all did great. The coach, he didn't seem too happy, though.
No, and I think it was because they gave up 700 yards of offense to Arkansas. I think it was that simple. Look, Lane Kiffin kind of gives it to you, and he told me this after the game. By the way, is our audio okay or is it echo? We good?
No, you sound good. Yeah, sound good.
Okay, just making sure. He told me, he said, I'm going to give it to you straight, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. And he said, our offense won this game. And defensively, we weren't very good. Didn't tackle well. We did make the one play that we had to make at the very end to get out of there with a win. It was funny. The first thing that I asked him, Gerard, after the game, I said, is this the definition of a team win? And I was thinking about it from the standpoint of, okay, Matt Corral played well, and Henry Parrish played well, and Snoop Connor played well, and Chance Campbell played well on defense, and the tight end made some great blocks, and you had a kicker that made a 50-yard field goal. I thought, there are a lot of elements in this game that were good. He didn't see it that way. He saw the defense was a disaster on Saturday, and the offense was really, really good.
Well, he is a descendant of Nick Saban, right? So that's the first thing that hit me is that you saw a little vintage Nick Saban in his post-game analysis. That's what I felt like. But,
and he's also a descendant of Monty Kiffin, who's one of the great defensive minds,
that's
like
true.
A direct blood descendant of one of the great defensive minds in the history of the game.
You're right. So does it look to you that the defense has maybe kind of faltered relative to the first couple of games when most Rebel fans thought, gee, we finally got a defense to kind of match up with the offense? What happened there? Are we just running into really good offenses?
I think it's a combination of things. They had a pretty significant injury in that Jake Springer, number one on the defensive side, was injured against Louisville and has not come back. And he's one of those guys that kind of plays a hybrid position. You can walk him up to the line of scrimmage. You can drop him back into coverage. He's kind of a hybrid linebacker. And look, if you go back to fall camp leading into the start of this season, Lane Kiffin, if you really paid attention, was concerned about depth. And this was statistically the second worst defense in the history of the SEC a year ago. Are they better than that? Yeah, a little bit. But they still have got some personnel issues. There certainly are depth issues that go along with that. And I think that's a hill that they're going to have to continue to climb. And from a scheme standpoint, they're not stopping the run because they've got three defensive linemen. They're not great on the defensive line. And when you look at an offensive line like Alabama had a couple of weeks ago or Arkansas had this past week, an issue. And so Ole Miss is having to just try to kind of – we're kind of back where you were a year ago, where you're going to have to go score a bunch of points in the game.
Yeah. Gosh, I hope that's not the case. Now, something I saw, Richard, that because you just feel like your luck runs out eventually on that sort of deal. Something I saw, and I want to get your take on it, sitting in the opposite end zone, had a pretty good view of the final two-point conversion play. And immediately when K.J. Jefferson got the ball, he started rolling to the right, to his right there. And I noticed that their offensive line, rather than blocking down in that direction, looked like they kind of stood at the line and maybe tried to angle a rushing defense. And two defenders just zipped right by him and hurried him, and ultimately, I think that's what caused the incompletion. Did you happen to see the same thing where the offensive line I don't know, just looked like they didn't block as they typically had been on those rolls.
You know, Gerard, I try to make myself watch the line of scrimmage. It's hard to do that. It's a whole lot easier to follow the ball. You know, if you're really trying to figure out where a game's won and lost, a lot of times watching the line of scrimmage is the way to go about that. On that particular play, I was standing in the end zone underneath the goalpost and was kind of following the ball and trying to watch what was happening with receivers. Because on the previous play where they caught the touchdown, where number 84 for Arkansas, Washington, caught the touchdown, the way I was watching that, he was coming from the right side as they were going in and then kind of came across the middle. And so I was trying to kind of watch crossing routes and see what they were doing. So I was not watching particularly the line of scrimmage, but I was watching the quarterback, you know, kind of out of one eye. And I think you make a great point on the pressure. Ole Miss didn't get a lot of pressure on KJ Jefferson.
That's one of the few plays they did.
Yeah, and if they don't, I mean, if you give him more time than he's got, then there's no shot. I think what Arkansas was trying to do was give him the option to run or throw. I think it was one of those RPO looks, but it wasn't like traditional. You're faking the handoff and then, you know, you can run it or throw it. It was more of a, as you described it, kind of roll the pocket to the right, and if it looks like the run's there, take it. I'm glad they decided to throw the ball in that because he was a load. You're talking about a Mississippi kid who played a really, really good game, responsible for 6 touchdowns and over 400 yards of offense. I don't know that he's the most refined and polished quarterback yet, but in terms of athleticism and playmaking ability, I certainly tip my cap to KJ Jefferson.
He's awesome. All right, so let's turn our attention to the nightcap. Good grief. Alabama A&M epic there at Kyle Field. What do you think about that deal?
Well, first of all, I know not everybody likes the 11 a.m. kickoff, but for somebody that has to work on game days, being done for the day at 4 o'clock and getting to go home and sit on the back patio and watch some football was awfully nice.
Well, I heard you talk about that. You said that in your post-game show. That's where I'm going right now.
Absolutely. We got a couple of years ago one of those inflatable screens so that the kids could watch movies in the backyard. Well, I commandeered that on Saturday night. Had the big blow-up screen with a projector. Had some friends over, and so able to sit out and watch it. But, yeah, I mean, what an atmosphere, first of all. And look, I walked away from that Alabama game 2 weeks ago really, really impressed with the Crimson Tide. And then on the flip side, you look at what Texas A&M had not been able to do offensively. I mean, they score 10 in a loss against Arkansas. They are held scoreless earlier in the year. They don't do anything against Mississippi State a couple of weeks ago. And then they explode for that against Alabama's defense. I mean, it was incredible to me. I thought Calzada, their quarterback, played the best game that he's played.
Yeah,
without question. And it was really impressive. It's hard to feel sorry for Alabama, if we're being honest.
Well, we got a minute or two. What in the world's going to happen in Baton Rouge?
Well, eventually, Ed Ogeron is not going to be the head football coach. I just don't know when that's going to happen. It sounds like they've kind of gone back and forth on that. I just don't see much of a way forward. And I thought his team – I mean, Kentucky's good, but I thought LSU kind of mailed it in on Saturday night, if we're being honest.
Man, that's just shocking. What are we, 2 years removed from national championship?
Yeah. And, you know, perfect storm in that national championship team. They had, 10, 11, 12 NFL guys on there that all went on to the league. Had a great quarterback, a generational talent at quarterback, 3 NFL wide receivers, good offensive line, and all of those things seem to be way in the rearview mirror for LSU.
Yeah. Well, lots of other crazy stuff going on. Georgia may be the best team in the country after watching Alabama Saturday. I don't know, but they look awfully strong, obviously, once again. So
yeah, I mean, that's a roster that's just absolutely stacked. You know, 1 through 85. Kirby's recruited at a really high level. Doesn't seem to matter who's playing quarterback for them right now. They're running the ball effectively. They're throwing it effectively, and that is a nasty defense. They're giving up 5.5 points per game through 6 games. 4 of those are against SEC teams, and the other one is against Clemson. And then there was UAB mixed in there.
Pretty salty for sure. Rich, appreciate you coming on. Great analysis and great job again this weekend. And we look forward to the coming weekend where we'll do some more college football. Take care, my friend.
Thanks, Gerard. Headed to Knoxville this week. Should be fun.
Whew, Rocky Top. We'll come right back on Middays.